Hello everybody, welcome back to Art Time for All. Today we're gonna go over some tips and tricks to improve your drawing skills. The first tip I want to give you is to start with an HB or a number 2 pencil. These are the same thing. You may find that some other pencils are gonna say 2.5. This pencil is just a little bit harder. Both of them are good to start with. These are just your regular school pencils. For this project, you're also going to need an eraser and a permanent marker if you wish to finish your drawing on black lines. Okay, so first tip. Start with your HB or number 2 pencil. Next tip. Warm up your hands. Touch your thumb with each one of your fingers a couple of times. Stretch your hands and warm up your wrists. Number 3, when you're gonna grab a pencil, grab it away from the tip. Usually when you're going to write a note, you grab your pencil like this, very close to the lead. To draw, you wanna draw away from the tip and you wanna let your pencil loose. Go ahead and give it a try. Just let it loose. Next tip, draw very light when you are starting your project. So, drawing takes 3 steps. The step number 1 is the ghost part. This is when you're gonna do your drawing in very light lines. So, I'm gonna draw something simple like a pencil. I'm gonna start with my straight line, and I'm trying to do this very softly. I'm barely letting my pencil touch the paper. As you can see, I did some of my lines twice or even 3 times. These are just gonna be my guidelines. Whatever is extra at the end of my drawing, I'm gonna be able to erase it. Especially since these lines are so light, so it's not gonna leave any marks on my paper. So this was step number 1, the ghost part. Step number 2, correcting your lines. This is when you're gonna go over your lines on medium pressure. And you don't have to retrace the whole line. You can start on a joint and just retrace on medium until you're halfway there, and then start on the other side and do the same thing. And I'm gonna do this same step for all of my lines. During this step, it's a good idea to continue with your design. For example, I decided here to give it a zigzag line instead of a straight line to make it more realistic of how a pencil looks on the front. And then we're gonna move on to the 3rd stage of drawing. This is either shading or retracing on permanent marker, depending on what you're gonna do with your project. If you're gonna use paint or oil pastels on this, you would go and retrace it with a permanent marker. If you wanna continue with this just as a pencil drawing, you can go ahead and do some shading. All of your black areas, you would cover them on pencil. And then for shading, you can do 2 steps. The first step would be to give it a light shade on the bottom areas. And once you have your basic shading, you can go ahead and make it just a little bit darker. So I'm gonna start even with my lines. I'm going to retrace my lines and make them just a little bit darker. Once all of your bottom lines are dark, you can go ahead and give it another coat of shading. This is gonna be a smaller area than the first one, and it's gonna be a little bit darker. Now, if you're going to use this kind of drawing for another project, you may want to retrace it on Sharpie. What you would do here is just go over your lines, and you're gonna go very slow. Don't rush. And one last tip, this is a bonus tip. When you are drawing, you don't have to keep your hand straight. It's okay to go ahead and flip your hand depending on how you find it easier to make a line. For example, on this line, for me, it's very hard to make it straight like so. So I rather go this way, position my hand where it feels comfortable, and go ahead and draw my straight line. The rest of them, they were pretty easy to me to do straight up. But especially here, I had to move my hand around, and that's okay. If you need to do that, that's okay. Do you remember that first step when we were doing ghost lines? That's because those ghost lines are very easy to erase, as you can see me doing right here. So these are some tips and tricks for you to improve your drawing skills, and don't forget, draw light until you get it right. Ciao!